My guest, I'm so excited to have Jeffrey Hayzlett. Hello.
Welcome to the Brave Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Jena Rodriguez. Entrepreneurs are leading the way and creating a whole new level of possibility. Each week, listen in to hear how brilliant entrepreneurs share their brave secrets. Entrepreneurship is not the easy way. It is the brave way. Now let's get our brave on.
I'm so excited to have Jeffrey Hayzlett. Hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me. And I just hope I'm brave enough to be on.
We're going to test that out. There's a metric, right? We got to check in.
Well, I could very well be on the bottom end of that metric, but that's okay.
Well, I would gather that you have definitely had your brave moments. So just real quick, if you would, just kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody what you do and what your work is.
Well, right now I'm chairman of the C-Suite Network. I'm also a television host on C-Suite TV and a podcaster as well. I've got two podcast shows, All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett and The Hero Factor with Jeffrey Hayzlett, both of those on C-Suite Radio. I've been a primetime television host on Bloomberg. I've been a judge on Celebrity Apprentice for a number of years when the Trumpster was running that show. And then before he became president, I can't believe I can even say that, but there you go. And then on top of all that, I bought and sold about 250 businesses in my career, well over 25 billion in transactions. And you know, I've been a Fortune 100 officer. You can keep going, and so forth and so on. So it's a lot of different things, but you know, but I'm a business person. That's what I am foremost, and that's what I do every single day.
Yeah, no, I love that. I know we'll make sure your bio is thorough, but you know, I think the important thing to anchor is what matters to you most about all of it.
Oh, you know, doing the right thing. I think, you know, the biggest thing is to live my values every single day. Can I do what I do? And it's tough, you know, like especially the stuff that we're going through right now. I sometimes get a little grumpy. I had to apologize to my team yesterday because I kind of snapped out like, come on, people, get this together, do it. You know, we got a lot bigger other things to worry about, you know, and so I just do my best to live my values. And, you know, the team is always appreciative, even when I had to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry for being a little grumpy. You know, it's been a lot of stress going on, a lot of stuff going on. And I always have to be on, you know, to do interviews like this or to do media that I'm doing, whether it's a link up to CNN or to Fox or business or whatever I might be doing any given day. Even from my home here in South Dakota. I live in New York and South Dakota, and I'm here on my ranch. But you know, but living my values, being the person that I am, being who I am, whatever that means. That's what I try to do every single day.
You know, and I love that we're bringing up this conversation of value because I think it's what's fundamentally getting rattled right now. Yeah. I think it's getting tested, and I absolutely love that you are transparent about, right? You know, we are in kind of what I call DEFCON 5 of our egoic mind and reactors and in the things that are not necessarily aligned with our true self and our highest self that we can be. And I think what I was telling my clients and my community is I think it's a really big time to be in communication, which is what you just said you did, right? You went back and communicated to your team with the compassion for self called, hey, I wasn't my best self. I wasn't on in that moment. It wasn't my best moment. And this is what's so for me. And I think that's what's getting rattled is our basic fundamental values. And so what would you say, what would be your advice to people right now? We're recording this right at kind of the beginning of the coronavirus and the lockdowns that are happening, stay-at-home orders and things like that. And you may be listening to this at a later time, but I think what's going to be powerful is what we get to look back at, right? Yeah. And so what's some advice around, you know, that?
Yeah, well, I don't even think you have to look back on it. I think I wrote in my last book, The Hero Factor. I was talking about that Trump's actually a good thing for this country. And of course, you know, you can imagine all the Trump haters writing to me and Trump lovers on the same thing, not listening to my message. And my real message is when you have someone who is polarizing one way or the other, if you have someone who's controversial one way or the other, if you have an event like COVID that we're going through right now, it brings out real people. It brings out ways to be able to examine and look in the mirror. My first book was called The Mirror Test, and I said all the answers you need to know are looking in the mirror every single day. You just have to look a little deeper. Yes. And so you tend to see the true values of people come through. Am I here to help others, or am I going to take all the toilet paper and run? You know, that's a key question. And the same thing holds true, you know, when we are in controversial moments or controversial situations. Real values sneak through. When you're in a tough customer situation, when you're facing, facing a difficult obstacle, those brave moments, if I can use yours, those come through, and they come through very clearly. And I think what we want to do is be very grounded. So my first question to you or to anyone are, what are your walkaway values? What are the things that are so sacred from you, say in business, that you would walk away from business because I'm not going to do business with you? Now, we're going to get to basic fundamental needs that we have to in the COVID situation in terms of coronavirus. Do we have enough food? Do we have shelter? Do we have enough compassion? Do we have are we healthy or not healthy? I mean, all those things are going to come through. So those things will be tested. But beyond that, let's think about the business. How do you want to represent yourself? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to show up every day? And I think it's important. We don't sit down and look through what I would consider those real fundamental values of what it means to ship a great product, what it means to operate with this high of integrity, what it means to operate, as a value-based business. And that's the reason why I wrote The Hero Factor. Was I started seeing all these businesses that were doing great, and it was like, wow, why do those businesses do better than anyone else? And it's because they care about their customers, they care about their employees, they care about their environment, they care about doing the right things. Well, what are the right things? And so it always came back to their value-driven culture. Yeah. And so I think for us as humans, as people, we need to do that. So my advice is that you sit down and have real good discussions with yourself first, and then with the others that you work with, or the others that you live with or share your lives with. And because if you don't share the same values, you're going to have some issues.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is, it's becoming, it's like we're creating the microscope right now, and it's a huge opportunity for us to think differently, be different, live different. Right. And so I'd love to know what, kind of go back to your origin story at some level. And, you have all of the accolades, and you deserve them all, and you've done work. And it's impressive, right? But I think important right now is to impress upon people that just because you've made it somewhere, that you've also come from somewhere. So it's like, where have you come from or come through that has you be in the position that you're in? So it's like, where did you start? And
well, it's not some preordained or predestined kind of thing. People say, well, how did you, what was your plan to get there? I don't know, just surviving, just living. What are you talking about?
I didn't have a big plan.
Yeah, what freaking plan you talking about? Is there some plan I missed? Why the hell didn't I get that? Yeah. Why didn't I get that? What was that? You predetermine this stuff. You don't predetermine this stuff. You take advantage of certain things, and you get lucky, although you can make a lot of luck for yourself by hard work, because nobody's going to outwork me. No one's ever going to out hustle. When I was in 7th grade, I got the hustle award, for all 3 sports. I played all 3 sports very poorly, baseball, football, and basketball. I was terrible. I was absolutely rotten, but they gave me the coach's hustle award because no matter what, I was always hustling. Even though I wasn't the best, I was always hustling. Now, I got better as I got older. I got bigger. That was another thing that probably helped me, but I also got slower too. So that was another kind of thing to keep in mind. I came from my family was very poor. My family was, we lived in trailer park. That's what we grew up in, that trailer park environment, meaning my dad was in the military, so we didn't have a lot of money. So when you're in the military, you move from base to base, year to year. And sometimes we hauled our trailer with us. Yeah. We did that a number of years. We had the same house, but we moved it from Georgia to South Dakota to back down to Georgia. I can remember exactly those times and those time periods as we took that mobile home. That's what we did. All 3 kids and my mom and dad. We lived in a very modest thing, got everything I ever bought in life. If you didn't come from Sears, I didn't know it was existed. You know, that's the only brands I knew.
So
So
doing well.
yeah, and then, you know, by the time I got into high school, I was out kind of on my own, and certainly by the time I got to college, I was totally on my own, by myself, without the means, and, you know, had to make my way. I did, you know, down 2 or 3 jobs and get the scholarships that I could get, and then the rest of it I had to borrow, and then eventually paid back over time. But yeah, but no, that's where I came from. Just a very modest background. Mom was a bookkeeper, and she ended up becoming a really successful real estate agent in her second, third life, as I would call it, because she remarried a couple times, but finally found the right guy. And my father was in the military, and he was in the military all of his adult life, and then passed, you know, he had Agent Orange and passed away, and from his 3 tours in Vietnam. But, you know, very strict parents, very, you know, as you can imagine, having a sergeant and then having an Irish mother, it was, yeah, pretty strict.
The bookkeeper.
Yeah, well, man, I can remember things like, you know, every Saturday, I didn't care what it was. We had to tear everything out of that room and put it back and clean under, like Mom, why we got to clean under the bed? Because I said so, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. It was amazing because we had inspections, you know, so we had an inspection on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I appreciate that, because I think, you know, definitely one of the intentions of this show is to show the you know, what's possible. And, you know, for anyone listening, and I would gather that, you know, some people, especially right now, there's a level of, I've reached this level of success, but I'm also afraid I'm about to lose it. And we go back to maybe where we have come from. And I think we've got to lean into.
That's okay. I mean, so what if you do? You're still alive. Exactly. What the hell? Come on. Was it a bad life? It was the best life I ever had, man. Do you remember when I was a kid, when I was seventh grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, all the way up to 9th grade? You know, I used to take a shotgun with me to school.
Wow.
This is a true story. Because I used to go hunting after school with my friends. I mean, was that a bad life? Blaine Arthur, Kenny Roberts, if you're listening now, man, I still love you. And you know,
hey guys.
Yeah, but you know, I finally saw Lane. I haven't seen Kenny for 40 years probably. Yeah. But we still stay in touch. I mean, is that such a bad life? You give me there's millions of people who operate like that. Yeah. You know, so you know, relax. Everybody take it easy. It's gonna be different, but it's still gonna be good. It's going to be good because you're alive. If you're alive, shit, what the hell else do you need?
Yeah, I know. That's what I think is interesting. Of course, I speak to a lot about how, and I just talked about on a live about, you know, what we're up to, I believe, is that we're at an identity pivot, right? You know, it's like you just shared, like your identity pivot went from, that was where I came from. And then, you know, you hustled and you built and you created and you did the work and you know, and then it's like, and then here you are in a new identity of who and all of the things that you have accomplished, but we are up against another pivot, and the more we are attached to the way things have been, I think the more we struggle.
Well, you know, back when I was the CMO of Kodak, people would say, Jeff, make it like it used to be, and I said, it'll never be like it used to be. Yeah. You know, I don't look like I used to when I was 20. Right. Okay, I look better. You know, that has to be your attitude about moving forward with the things. It's going to change, you know, but let's be clear, even with the COVID thing that we're going through right now, or whatever tough situation that you're in, it only lasts so many days. Like right now, it's really about 60 days. You know, I need to help people with their businesses right now, get over the next 60 days. And if I can do that, is it worth it to you? You know, how can we work together? What can we do? How can we make this better for you? And get you to that next new normal, whatever that next new normal is, right? And that's the way I look at it. You know, I am this today, I've done this. And, you know, I find myself dealing with that sometimes too. When this morning I got on a breakfast call. Now, there's normally in New York City, a breakfast on Zoom is exactly what it was, because normally in New York, the Irish Business Organization, of which I'm a proud member of, gets together for breakfasts. Well, I can never make them because I've always got something else going on or I'm out of town. But they, you know, John Lee, who's the president, said, Jeff, can you make it? Sent me the note. Yeah, it's 7 a.m. my time. No problem. I can make that because I got nothing else scheduled. So I get up, get showered, get ready, get my oatmeal, get my banana bread, my cup of coffee. I mean, I'm ready to roll. And I joined the call. And as I joined the call, you know, everybody's real happy and wanted to have me on and to be with everybody else. But we got to talking about last week was St. Pat's Day, or a couple weeks ago was St. Pat's Day. And of course, we didn't get to march in the parade. We didn't get to have our parade in New York City. But what we decided to do was a virtual toast. And so we all grabbed a beverage and we all took a picture, and I happened to be in the ranch in South Dakota, and I sent it to them. Well, that made the national news, made the New York news, and they posted that picture, a collage of all of us toasting St. Pat's Day from all over the world.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
and I said it. Look, I'll share the long story to this, but I said I'm going to share the picture on my Twitter, which I have like 600,000 or 700,000 people on it.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh my God, you're going to do that? You're going to?" And I forget sometimes that I have that, right? Because I'm just like you. I'm just like anyone, and to me, I don't look at those things as I don't know, trophies on the wall. It's just what it is, you know.
Yeah, right.
And then, so all the accolades of where you're at or what you're doing, you're still you. And by the way, listen to this, folks. No matter how big you think you are, there's always someone bigger. That's what I found. And so I try not to put on those kinds of airs. I just want to be me. And,
right.
You know?
And that's what I love about you. I just, so for people know, I just met you in, I think it was March, but no, we're in March, I think it was February. Where you flew into LA and where we could still meet in person at the National Speakers Association meeting. And, you know, and it was great. And which is interesting. I mean, talking about Zoom calls and Zoom meetings, I did 4 speaking gigs, live speaking gigs on Friday. I can't do that in person.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm doing one tomorrow that's based in San Diego. I'm doing Secret Knock.
Nice.
And I was supposed to be there live. Can't be there live. Well, you could be there live, I guess. It just wouldn't be good for you.
You might be alone, but yeah.
But I'm going to do it. I'll do it entirely from here in South Dakota to, you know, thousands of people. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's what's available is if we actually self-lead and we step up as leaders, then we have a huge opportunity right now, people, to take whatever you have as a resource and thank goodness for the technology gods, right? And use that for the good, and that's what I'm trying to do. Clearly. And it's interesting. I love that you brought up the, like, you know, as big as you think you are and somebody's always bigger. And for me, I speak again to the egoic mind. And one of the biggest things that we can trap ourselves in is comparison, right? And the moment we start measuring, the moment we start comparing, we've just lost the game. And, you know, it's like, so if we can step back from that and connect back to what you said at the beginning, back to our values, back to what matters, back to why we're doing what we're doing, back to your purpose. And it's interesting. And I want your thoughts on this. So something I saw over like the last year and a half of my life is that I have moved through different phases, and clearly I had a turbulent upbringing. I had my own trailer at one point, living in a trailer. I moved out at 14 so I could get away from domestic violence in the house. And you know, so I've come from those humbling moments as well. And I believe that phase of my life, or that evolution of my emotional mastery and my emotional evolution, was called Brave by Survival. And it was like, I just did what I knew, like you said, it's like, you just do what you know and you keep moving, right? And I did, I did a lot of things to survive those circumstances and move through them and move beyond them. And then I moved into this powerful phase of my life called Brave by Choice, where I knew I could create my reality. I could create my experience of life in a very different way instead of being victim of it. And then the magic shifted for me like a year ago. And then I didn't have a title for it until last week. And that title is, now I'm in the evolution phase of Brave by Purpose. And I believe that those that feel the shift, that feel that this is the time to evolve and step into your next phase, and you determine which phase you're in. And I believe it's time to rise to the next one. And I think this is the chance to do that. Yep. Where are you? And certainly, what would your distinction be about that, or advice around that for people?
Well, I think in where am I in which phase? But my phase, if I look at phases, would be I'm very comfortable with what I do, how I do it, where I'm at, and I don't, somebody asked me one day, I was with a bunch of celebrities out in LA, and they were asking me about branding and doing this because I basically created another whole category of taking you and creating a brand around yourself
Sure.
and selling that. I was doing it, 10 years ago before Kim Kardashian and the rest of them.
Yeah.
But mine's more on the business side. And so that's what we help people do. And it's a great piece of it. So they said, well, Jeff, what happens when you hear those little voices in the background tell you can't do it? And I said, what voices? And they go, you know what voices? I said, yeah, I know what voices you're talking about. But I said, I stopped listening to those voices a long time ago.
Yes.
So every once in a while they pop up, especially in times like now. Oh my God, we're going to fail. I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. No, come on. Just 60 days. Just 60 days.
Just breathe.
Really 40 days. 40 days. By the way, and remember Moses wandered around in the desert and the wilderness for 40 years. Okay. And basically because he just didn't stop and ask for directions. But there you go.
Besides that point.
Yeah. So I stopped listening to those voices. So I'm to the point where I'm confident about what I do, how I do it. I'm comfortable in my skin. I am who I am. And I don't question a lot of that stuff. I just try to be better at certain things. There are some deficiencies that I'm not as good at. And that's why you have great spouses and partners and business people and great people around you to take care of those things for you, to pick up where you drop those things off. But, to be at the core of who you are, I think first you have to find that good core. Once you find that good core, then you can start attaching all the other pieces like a Lego. You can start attaching all these different pieces to it.
Yeah. And that's why I love that. And I can be witness to your purpose, you're brave by purpose. And I think those are the characteristics of this phase of being really comfortable with what you're meant to do here and what you're here to help people with, and being brave enough to keep showing up for it. Right.
Yeah.
Just keep showing up for it. Right. And then that's
I saw some questions that the team fed to me that you might raise. And one of them was, I think, what would you do in the crisis or something along those lines? When you see a crisis, you see an issue, you see a problem, how does bravery show up for you? I think is what the question was. Well, I run into it. I'm one of those people who I'm and right now I would term what I do and what others that are like me in business do is we are business first responders. Yeah. So when we see something like this, I run into it. Now I'm the same person that if the house was on fire next to me, or quite frankly, or one time, and I used to live in another neighborhood. Now I live out in the country, but I lived in the neighborhood, and there were some people robbing cars and robbing stuff around houses. There's an article about me in Wired magazine where I ran after these guys with a gun. I had a gun in my underwear at 1 a.m. in the morning, and I tracked them down, forced them until the cops came. I mean, that's me. That's different. I don't encourage everybody else to do it, but
that was the shotgun kid coming back out.
Well, exactly. But at that time it was a Springfield 9mm, but or whatever else gun I got lying around, because I got quite a few of them lying around. But nonetheless, I'm the kind of person that runs right into it. And if I were to see somebody abusing someone, I would run into it. If I see a wrong happening, I will run into it. And in this case, with what we've got on with business, is I'm that person that you want. I am that, as the quote, few good men. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Yes. Yeah, love that. And I think that is the best thing that we can offer right now, is that this is not the time to contract. It is the time to expand.
The opposite. I had somebody the other day that was saying, like, everybody just needs to be consoled, and that, look, you can hug everybody all you want. I'll hug them when it's all over with. All right. Yeah. But right now, I know business leaders who need assistance. I know business leaders that are looking for answers. I know business leaders that need spirit. I know business leaders that need to have cash flow and keep the cash going, and they need employee focus, and they need to keep their customers. So you don't do that by just hugging people. You don't do that by sitting back and hoping it's going to blow over. You do that by stepping into it and saying, what can I do next? And that's what we have to do. And I'll be damned if I let this economy go to hell, why we are faced with these kinds of things. And just as I wouldn't want, our country invaded by ravaging hordes, I don't want our country or economy hurt by a ravaging virus, period.
Yeah.
So either we can sit back and just sit on our asses and let it happen, or we can get off our ass, and kick ourselves in the butt and get moving. And that's what I intend to do. Look, right now, as I said, I think right now you need to be focused on keeping your employees focused. You need to be keeping your customers engaged, keeping your cash flow going, keeping continuity as you know it today, whatever that continuity is. It could have been you were doing lots of meetings. Well, now you do them online. Could have been you were doing this. You were training people. You were doing a yoga studio, and you had a yoga studio, but now you do it online. Whatever it is. And then last but not least, you got to keep the spirit. You got to keep the energy. You got to keep this tenacity for the free enterprise and everything that we do at the forefront. And that's what I intend to do.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right on. I definitely believe that we get to choose one or the other. We get to choose to be a part of this problem or the solution, and we are the economy. Especially for me, I believe that. I'm a diehard entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurship. I respect, and I've been in corporate America, but I'm like, and they have entrepreneurs leading, right? And so it's like, you've got to lean into this versus to step out of the game and just get creative. And I love how you are, clearly you're going to be offering a lot of resources and conversations and support and, and delivering it through a million different channels. And I just encourage people to listen and lean into it and curate this positive approach, this positive conversation, because anything less than that is you become part of the collateral damage and the problem versus the solution. And I could be on that soapbox all day too, so and I tend, when I'm in a crisis mode, I tend to like, all right, what do I got to do, right? Go into action. And I just want to offer, and I'm curious what you do too, because you're a hustler. I totally get that. You go into action. And I have personally found a balance or a place of harmony. Balance is for ballerinas, but as a place for us to not only go inward and be quiet enough to hear the ideation, to hear the creativity. Because this is a time for innovation, and every crisis, right? We know this. Every crisis has generated something really new and brilliant that we're using now, so I feel like if we don't get quiet enough, then we're just in reaction. We're just in fight or flight. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think everybody has to have those moments where they can either meditate, they can sit back, relax, they can sit back and think, because you can't just act. You have to do bravery, as you said, with purpose. And and you want to head in the right direction. It's not doesn't do you any good to head to the fire in the wrong direction, right?
Exactly.
So in this case, what you want to do is sit back, formulate, think. There used to be an old PR formula that I really like a lot, and I use it pretty much for everything. I always tell people crawl, walk, run, but right now you've really got to run. You got to run as much as possible. If you've ever thought of doing a podcast, do a podcast. You've thought about, you got a book, making it an audio book, give it away for free, because everybody's listening to everything right now. If you got a course, open up, give it to everybody, and then try to make the money or make money from the coaching or training, or there's all those things. If you got a retail product that you need to do, sell it a different way. I'm watching a woman who I know who goes around to jewelry shows and like little flea markets and the fairs and stuff, and she sells jewelry, and she's doing it online now because she can't do that stuff anymore. Wow, the ingenuity of all this stuff. But get back to that formula. It's RACE, R-A-C-E, research, action, communicate it, evaluate, see how it's going, and then back again. Research, who should I do it? Who wants it? What's the cost? What are the other kinds of costs? What's my margin on the thing? All that stuff you'd research about it. Then action, go do it. Get it done. Get it put in place. And then communicate it. And then get the message out and then evaluate. Did that work? No. Okay, can it work better? Try it again. Boom. And you just keep circling and you'll get there. You'll get there. But we're in a race. Let's be clear. Race.
Right. And it's kind of a sprint.
I'm going to write that down and use that in my next webinar. Race.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, there you go.
We're in a race.
It's my whole thing. I call it the drive. Look at all these notes I'm making. I'm so chaotic. But I call it the drive and thrive. This is not the time to ponder, because if you ponder, you squander. Okay, you need to drive and thrive. If you wait, you will seal your fate. I mean, that is the name of the game here. So right now you need to drive and thrive. And you might not be driving always in the right direction, but figure it out. You'll get there.
On the road.
You're on the road. You're not
in the parking lot.
Yeah, you're not broke down on the side of the road. You're driving.
Exactly. Yeah. Change that tire and get back on the road.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies, gotta say, Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, there you go. Or hijack another car.
Just hijack another one. Right? Jump on the diesel.
Yeah, get a bigger, get a nicer one. If you're gonna hijack a car, get a nicer one.
You know, in the game consoles, I'm like, I'm gonna flip between the different car types and see which one I want.
Oh, there you go. I'm an old pickup truck. Mine's an old pickup truck. So I got cracked windshield. It's got gun racks. It's got everything. It's got cracked windshield. I got 2 cracks across the entire. Yeah, that's my car.
But you're gonna drive it anyway. Yeah, I love it.
Great.
Do it imperfectly, everyone.
It works great.
And so, real quick to kind of wrap up, I love asking some of my guests this question. So especially right now, in the small moments, because I got it that you have reached that brave by purpose where the chatter isn't as powerful, but I know there is a lot of chatter going on.
There's always chatter.
What would be your biggest fear, or what's the loudest chatter that's happening for you right now?
Well, it's always about, can I get there fast enough?
Got it.
For me right now, can I get everybody else with me fast enough?
Yeah.
I was in an argument with somebody over the weekend, because I said, here's some things you should be doing. She goes, I think you're inappropriate. You're telling people to go out and get moving fast. And right now it's a time of contemplation. It's a time of thinking it through. It's a time of giving people hugs and stuff. And I went, oh, people, come on, man. No. I'm worried that we'll leave too many behind. And so that's my job. That's my purpose, is to help people and to do it. And by the way, do I gain from it? Hell yeah, of course I do. But I also want everybody else to gain from it. And my concern is we won't get to enough people. And I said that to her. I said, all due respect. And she said, well, I have 2,500 people in my group. And I said, well, I got 350,000 in my group. So there you go. If you want to pee on the ground and mark territory, always remember there's someone bigger. So, and there's bigger than me by far, more powerful, more smarter, better, talented. Maybe not as good looking, but they're there. But and I just said, I represent people who are taking responsibility for people in their company, and they feel a unique connection to those people, and they know that all of those people that work with them or work for them, if you want to say it that way, are counting on them. And so I'm all about, look, I got people who are counting on me. They want me to succeed. They have to have me help succeed. They have to help me lead. They have to want to watch me make sure I'm leading and help me, support me, because they depend on it too.
Right.
I don't want to let my wife down. I don't want to let my kids down. I don't want to let my grandchildren down. I don't want to let these folks, these people that are just as much my family, who I love and care for, I want to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's the fear that I have. But it's also the drive. That fear is the fuel for the part of the drive that I've got to be successful.
Yeah.
Because it's what you got to do.
Yeah, and I think that definitely part of being brave is like you said, diving straight into the fear, going through it, being with it, recognizing it for what it is, but it's not real, right? It's our false self trying to hold us back and keep us in comfort zone.
Yeah, I always remember every time I get scared, I think about the time I'm scared of heights. I don't like heights. I get a nosebleed if I wear 2 pairs of socks, kind of thing. So, but I have to realize that that's an irrational fear. Now, if I'm up high on a tree or something, I'm still scared. But when I'm 6 feet off the ground, come on, Jeff, just relax.
Just relax. Sit down if you need to.
Yeah. Push somebody else first.
Closer to the ground.
That's right.
No, and I appreciate that. I think it just comes back to what you said at the beginning, is reconnecting to the values that we have, and being willing to stand up and lead, because you're right. Like, how many people can we bring with us through the path, right? And this is It's unknown territory. It's a wilderness that we're walking into, but that doesn't mean that we don't walk it together and get through it. And we will. We are, right? We are.
We will.
We will. It's done.
We will do it. We will look back on this as an experience. We'll look back on just like we did in 2008, just like we did in 9/11, just like we did the time before that and the time before that.
Yeah,
exactly. And somehow we survived, and somehow we persevered. We rose to a new level, and we shall do that again. And we are going to do that, and we're doing it now. So let's just get going. Quit talking about it. Quit bitching about it. Quit moaning about it. Let's just go.
Let's just do it. and monitor what you watch and can feed yourself, right?
Yeah, I don't know those people have time for TV watching all this other stuff.
Either.
I don't have time for that. I've never worked so hard in my life.
Listen to this podcast. I got over 200 episodes. That's what you need to be feeding yourself.
There you go.
Brave.
There you go. Get brave. Get brave.
Be brave. So final thoughts. Number one, I want people to connect with you, of course. So what's the best way to do that?
Hey, you can find me at anything with C-Suite Network or C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio, C-Suite Book Club, and then Jeffrey Hayzlett, it's right there. There's my name right there on the screen, and you can look me up, Google me, find me, and be glad to have you. Come listen to me on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett or The Hero Factor on C-Suite Radio.
Awesome. And I know you wanted to, I think, share more information, share something that people can grab.
Oh, I thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, if you're looking to talk about your values, The Hero Factor is my most recent book. And so in there, I give you a free assessment of where your business stands today based upon your own hero factors. Do you have the hero factors? What are your values? Where do you stand? And so there's a free assessment. You go to theherofactorbook.com. It's all free. You don't have to buy the book. Just go take the assessment, start there.
Perfect. I love it. All right.
Oh, and then one more thing. Check us out at the C-Suite Network. We're going to be putting together a resource guide for all those that are listening in, a business resource and continuity guide to deal with this whole COVID situation. So we're going to have links for you for loans, programs that you can go and do that can help manage your stock portfolio, ideas for what you need to do in terms of laying off costs, changing things, a new merchant account that you can lend. All these things we're going to put together just to kind of help everybody get through what we got to do.
Awesome. That was where C-Suite.
It'll be C-Suite Network. You'll see it. Yeah, you'll see prominent.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. I always wrap this up in a beautiful bow. If this was in fact your last interview, no more speaking, no more chance to share a message with the world, what would that message be if this was it?
Oh, wow. Just get off your ass and do it. No more than that, right? That's it. An idea without implementation is air.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. Bada boom.
Yeah. And by the way, if all you ever do is talk about it, it's hot air.
It's hot air. Yeah. You're just blowing smoke and hot air. Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jeffrey, for this time and being a part of my community. And I just really appreciate your commentary about everything and your insight. So
well, thank you
for being a brave master.
Well, thank you for having us on the show and for being so brave yourself.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.